How to respond to tragedy on social media. Social media puts us in constant contact with people on a global level. That means as soon as tragedy strikes, people are posting about it on social media. However, responding to tragedy on social media should be done with caution. Before you post, think about why you are posting and what you want to say, along with how you can support others. You should also consider the other content on your social media account and decide if it is appropriate to the situation. Method 1: Determining what to say. 1. Send your thoughts to the victims. When tragedy occurs, you may want to post to send your thoughts, prayers, or support to the people involved. By doing this, you can show that you care and help process your grief. Sometimes, saying only a few words is better and more sincere than making a huge post. For example, you may say, "My thoughts are with the families affected by this tragedy," or "My prayers are with the victims." 2. Share news stories about the tragedy. Another way to respond to the tragedy on social media is share news stories, media coverage, videos, or other posts about the tragedy. Choose stories that reflect how you feel, or post a story you disagree with and add your own opinions to it. Posting these stories gives you a starting point for discussion about the event. You can start by sharing your opinion about the media coverage, then responding to those who comment. You may say, "This is a great article about what happened," or "This article sways the events in favor of one side. What do you think?" 3. Use the tragedy to spread awareness. Tragedies can be a time where you spread awareness for causes you truly believe in. Share stories, personal accounts, or opinions associated with what happened. Explain to those who follow you why the paying attention to the tragedy and the surrounding issues is so important. For example, you may talk about rape culture, racism, homophobia, or violence against transgender people in light of specific tragedies. 4. Decide if you should say anything. Many people respond to tragedy on social media with vacant words and cheesy, cliched statements. This can make you seem shallow or insensitive. You may choose to say nothing. Just because something happens doesn't mean you have to say something. You don't have to respond to anything that happens. Sometimes, the best thing to do is to post nothing. Before you decide to respond to a tragedy on social media, think about why you want to post. If you are not personally affected by the tragedy, be honest about your motivations for making a comment on social media. Do you want attention? Do you think it's expected? Do you feel a strong sense of grief? If your answer is one of the first two, it may be better to not respond. 5. Use caution when pointing out other tragedies people have ignored. A common response to tragedy is to respond to posts and update statuses angrily because people are posting and showing support for this tragedy, but not another tragedy. You can air your feelings to bring awareness to other similar tragedies, but don't belittle or diminish the emotional impact of the current tragedy. For example, when a bombing happens in a place that gets international attention, people get on social media to make angry posts about other places that have been bombed with no exposure. This also happens when victims of violent crimes are talked about nationwide, but other victims of the same crime get no coverage. When spreading awareness of other tragedies, be sensitive to each tragedy. Method 2: Tailoring the content on your social media account. 1. Keep up with the news. Even if you don't want to devote a lot of time to reading the newspaper or watching the news, you should skim headlines and stay informed about what is happening in the world. This can help you avoid making mistakes with your social media posts. You don't want to post an innocent post that may be seen as offensive or insensitive because you didn't know something big was happening. For example, if something tragic happens, you don't want to post on social media complaining about something small, or celebrating something that happened. Knowing what tragedies have occurred may help you avoid sharing links that may be considered offensive right after a tragedy. If a plane crashes, you may not want to share travel links, or if there was a huge car accident, you don't want to post about which new car to buy. 2. Remove related content from your feed. After a tragedy, you may want to go through your most recent posts and decide if any of them are offensive. You didn't have any knowledge of the tragedy when you posted it, but if someone reads your social media posts now, they may not realize that and be hurt or offended. For example, if you posted a link about a violent movie or video game a day ago, you may want to take it down if a violent tragedy happens. 3. Use your post to help in some way. Instead of just posting your thoughts or reactions, you may want to respond to the tragedy in a way that can help. You can share links and retweet posts about raising money and seeking volunteers for aid, or about helplines or organizations that are providing services at the site of the tragedy. For example, you may share a post about the Red Cross looking for blood donors, a church raising money to help families affected by the tragedy, or a humanitarian organization looking for volunteers to help with cleanup efforts. 4. Limit your posts about the tragedy. If you feel you need to post about the tragedy, then limit the amount of posts. You don't want to flood your followers' feed with an incessant stream of posts about the tragedy. Instead, post one update and share, perhaps 1 or 2 links to articles. Posting too many updates can make yourself sound insincere or upset your followers. Try to use proper posting etiquette and don't overpost about the tragedy. 5. Place warnings on potentially offensive or upsetting content. You may want to share videos, images, or other graphic content with followers. However, this content may not be suitable for everyone, and some people may find it upsetting or offensive. When posting this content, make sure to place warnings on them or place them behind a cut so people will have to click on the link to see the content. For example, if you want to show the video of someone getting murdered by a cop or footage from an explosion, this may be upsetting for some people. You should post it if you feel strongly about sharing the images, but warn others who may be triggered by the images. Explain why you want to share these images. For example, you may say, "This video shows what really happened instead of what the media may want you to believe," or "I feel the impact of this tragedy becomes much more significant when you see for yourself what happened." Method 3. Offering support through social media. 1. Offer support to the affected person. Tragedy may not be on a global or national level. Tragedy may happen when someone on your Facebook or Twitter suddenly loses a family member. When this happens, you can offer support to the person to let them know you care. For example, you can simply like the post. You may decide to comment to the person with something like, "I'm sorry for your loss," or "You are in my thoughts." You may consider sending the person a private message with more personal words. 2. Take part in remembering along with others. When tragedy happens, you may join in the collective conversation and share your memories with others. This may be appropriate if someone well-known in the community or a famous person dies, or if a well-known landmark was destroyed in some tragic way. You can share photos of you and the person, or a photo of you at the building or landmark destroyed. Write a post with your favorite memories of the person or the place. Sharing good memories in a time of tragedy can be a way to heal. 3. Grieve with others. If you are part of a community struck by tragedy, either geographically or culturally, you can use social media to grieve and process the tragedy. When something happens close to us, reaching out to other individuals who may understand our loss can be comforting. You may make posts about how affected you are by the loss. You may talk about your sadness and grief, your fear, or your anger.